Hi, welcome to this video. I want to do another video regarding the whole issue about free will and choice. And this seems to be a big kind of hot topic, okay, in the dog training community about as it relates to dogs, free will and choice, as it relates to, again, of, even getting into Skinner, okay, in terms of, operant conditioning, just the basic drives of a dog inherent to how they respond, how they react, but here's the thing to understand here, okay, and I talk about this at the social level, okay. Once you get dialed into the reality, okay, of what that connection represents, okay, in terms of our role, in terms of how a dog's decision-making process is influenced and governed through the social aspect of the relationship. Dogs as pack animals. You start to see that, okay, everything filters through, okay, a dog's decision-making process, okay, everything filters through, okay, the social, okay, at the social level, through that connection, within the parameters of nature, within the parameters of relationship, other dogs, and this is what makes dogs amazing through the human. And so nothing is going to supersede that way, okay? When I say that way, it means that, we talk about, say, police canine, okay? We talk about high drive dogs, talk about, in terms of even bite work, dog expressing, I talk about control, right? A dog expressing control. Okay, it's still what I refer to as a conditional state. There's a condition on it now at the social level, which means that, through what that connection represents, through how a dog's decision-making process is influenced and governed, I have control of that. I can override that, the dog's just naturalistic drives and instincts. Okay, they're still there, okay, inherent to what makes dogs dogs. But through, at the social level, okay, what supersedes that, because everything is still, the dog's still through that connection, and I talk about dogs' level of focus, how they perceive their perceptions, okay, everything aligns and filters through at the social level. Okay, understand that's the thing, that's the important thing to understand. So we talk about, that's why I talk about the whole thing about just like, say, responses, okay? The failure for people to understand that in terms of just at a response level is that socially, okay, to align the dog's perception so that it becomes about, okay, how you're perceived, okay, beyond just response, because there's response, but there's also the thing about relationship and perceptions, okay? And if we don't understand, and that's why I talk about a interaction-based approach that brings those core ingredients, okay, reconciles them. I can talk about influence and control at the social level, okay, that reconciles those core ingredients. It brings it into a type of a conversation, power play as I call it, okay, that align the perceptions properly. Okay, so that then when you talk about responses, okay, those responses align the right way as well. So the dog is doing something, right? Okay, the perceptions, the focus has shifted in such a way, okay, that it's filtering and coming through the relationship properly. Okay, properly meaning that, hierarchy, okay? I'm perceived the right way. Talk about leadership and control. That's how it works. Okay, so when we talk about this whole thing about free will and choice, okay, the confusion here is a complete failure of dog owners to even consider anything I'm saying. And what they do is they just engage a relationship problem, right? They don't even reconcile anything that I'm talking about. They just look at everything like, oh, it's a type of learning-based exercise. And so what happens oftentimes is the perceptions don't align. Okay, they because they're not bringing in, they're not reconciling, they're not engaging the way I talk about to actually change or align the perception of dogs properly. So therefore, they're so focused on just at a response level without any depth or consideration as to this whole thing. So when you talk about free will and choice, everything becomes contaminated because those naturalistic instincts and drives are going to, right, fall outside the parameters. The dog's in control now, and so you're not perceived the right way in the relationship, and so those drives are going to be expressed in such a way. This is where that concept called fixed action patterns, where force-free trainers, a lot of trainers will say, oh, well, you just can't do anything about it. A squirrel comes out or whatever, because that's their out. Okay, they have to say those things because what their engagement level and their idea of things doesn't reconcile those core ingredients to align the perception of dogs. So this is where you got people out there with reactive dogs I talk about. They can't work through it because their objection points when they see how I'm gauging, right, how I'm reconciling those core ingredients, they go crazy and they start labeling things as abuse because they don't have the depth or insight or understand what's happening anyway. Like they don't see things at a deeper level, and they don't ask those questions. So all to say, when you get this thing about free will and choice, understand that, just like I talked about the selfish child example, you have to apply common sense. What's the context of free will and choice when a child has become selfish, right? And then you have to consider at the social level, your role as a parent. Like, think about that. It's so amazing to me, these trainers, they cannot get their head around anything because they've hardwired themselves into this idea that doesn't even connect properly. It doesn't even engage a relationship problem between with dogs and owners the right way to begin with, and they just throw it to the side. So I would encourage you to really apply critical thinking. Get out a notebook and just taking notes of everything I'm saying, and you got to work through it, and then you have to apply it, right? But anyway, if you have questions, contact me. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.